All right, with that, the June 28th, 2023 regular session is now in order. At this time, we do have a closed session item agendized. We will go ahead and conduct roll call, accept public comment, and then we will determine whether or not we need to adjourn into closed session at that point. And from there, we'll go forward. So if Madam Clerk, you wouldn't mind calling the roll.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Douglas.
Present.
Mayor Bruce. Present. All right, at this time, we'll accept public comment on the closed session item, which is the public employment pursuant to Government Code Section 54957, position to be filled, city manager. So if anyone has any public comment on that item at this time, this would be the appropriate place to bring it up.
Good evening, Tom Parnham. Wow, this is close. I know that Mike is going to be interim because of his expertise with contracts and all the stuff that we have going, and that's going to be a really tough shoes to fill. And I just wanted to suggest something, to make sure that if he's up for it, to keep him on, maybe a little longer, and so that you can hire, a city manager, a good city manager, and bring him up to speed with everything that he's going to have to, learn. And also, I'd like to have an emphasis on retention of employees. We've had a horrible few years of keeping employees. When I started working for the city 20 years ago, and everybody working for the city had been around 20 years, some longer than that. And since then, it's just been turnover. The sewer plant, when I left the sewer plant in 2009, there's been 20 operators since then. And it takes like 3 years to learn a plant. And when you got turnover like that, it's not a good sign. Not only that, operators, when they see the advertisement, here's Colfax looking for an operator again, it scares them off. So that's my 2 cents worth. I'd like for this, city council to, look for a good manager, good personnel manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. Do we have any other public comment on this item? Anything online? Nothing online. Okay, with that, I'll close public comment on the closed session item. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and just take a quick poll of the council on whether or not we actually feel the need to adjourn into closed session this evening. Sean, do you feel the need to adjourn into closed session this evening? Tim? Okay, I also don't feel the need to. I'm going to ask Mick really quickly. Mick, do you have any critical topics you feel that we need to discuss this evening? Simple yes or no will do.
I do not, Madam Mayor.
All right, well, with that, I'll accept a motion to bypass closed session this evening.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll go ahead and remain in open session. There obviously is no report from closed session since we didn't adjourn, and we'll move directly into the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I think our roll call still stands, so we won't do another. We'll move to the approval of the agenda order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to our consent calendar at this time. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial in nature. They'll be moved on in one blanket motion unless otherwise removed from the consent calendar by a member of council or a member of the public. If anybody would like to remove an item from consent for further discussion this evening, you may do so now. Would anybody like to pull an item from consent? 3B? Okay. Any other items? All right, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of item 3B.
I second. Yep, so moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving to item 3B. This is the minutes from the City Council meeting of June 8th, 2023. Feel free to come on up to the podium.
Yeah, Tom Farnham again. The minutes are wrong. Those are the minutes to the previous meeting, not to the last meeting. When I was reading through them, it's the wrong date on there.
Okay.
So we didn't have minutes for the last meeting to look at, and that's it.
Thank you.
So the date needs to be changed on.
Let's go ahead and continue this item to the next meeting.
Yes, so the minutes for the 14th have not been submitted. These are the minutes for the special meeting that was held on the 8th.
Right. So Tom, was your comment specifically that the minutes did not match up with the date?
By the last meeting minutes.
Right, they're not available yet. So these are just from the special meeting on the 8th, but did they not match in?
Okay, that matches.
Oh, okay, okay.
Meetings for the last. Minutes for the last meeting.
Okay, I understand. So with that, does council want to motion approval of 3B or does council want a motion continuation of 3B?
I move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, moving to item 4, agency reports, starting with Placer County Sheriff's Office.
Good evening, City Council and citizens of Colfax. I'm Deputy James Alberg. I'm one of the Colfax deputies here. I'm filling in for Sergeant Griffiths tonight. Sorry for my attire. We had off-highway vehicle training way up the hill today, so I'm a little dirty and wet from all the rain we got. So I did pull some stats for you guys. This is for the month of May because June is not completed yet. So for the entire county of Placer, the Sheriff's Office responsibility, we had 4,423 calls for service with 158 arrests, 544 reports taken. Let's see, 59% were created by citizens and 41% were by deputies doing proactive activities. For the Colfax, Williamore, and Applegate areas, which is the areas that the deputies that work up here kind of respond to, we had 203 calls for service with 13 arrests, 35 reports. 66% of the calls were created by citizens. 34% was proactivity by the deputies. As far as what we have coming up, obviously 4th of July is coming up. I know that the city's already had their meeting for the July 3rd, and our deputies have been involved with that. Fireworks are obviously illegal, so we're expecting an uptick in calls for service for that. We've also had an uptick in calls for service for DUIs, and we've had actually numerous arrests here in Colfax in the actual city that your deputies have handled. That's obviously due to the nicer weather and things like that. And the deputies up here are all ready for fire season. We've already had a couple fires that we've responded to, and we are all prepared and ready to handle those when it happens. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? Thank you.
Yep.
CHP. No CHP this evening? All right. Placer County Fire Department, CAL FIRE.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Bob Counts, Assistant Chief with CAL FIRE Placer County Fire Department of the Eastern Division. On Monday, June 26th, we entered into our peak fire season staffing for CAL FIRE. What that means is we have 22 engines staffed and available across the 3 counties in our unit. And that includes our 6 somewhat local engines, 2 here at Colfax, 2 in Alta, and then 2 down in Auburn. Our crews are fully staffed. We run 4 different models of fire crews in our unit. The traditional inmate staffing in cooperation with the California Department of Corrections up at just outside of Grass Valley at Washington Ridge Camp. We're currently at 2 crews. Historically, they've been around 5 crews, but with low inmate population, it's been increasingly difficult to staff inmate fire crews. So CAL FIRE over the last couple of years have employed a couple of different models to which we've got a few of those. So I'll go over those now. In partnership with the California Conservation Corps, we have 2 fire crews available right down the road in Christian Valley. We also have a California National Guard fire crew based out of Grass Valley, Nevada City. And then lastly, our fuels crew that's staffed with full-time forestry technicians. Our aircraft is fully staffed and available at Grass Valley Air Attack Base. We have 1 air attack, 2 air tankers. And we've also brought on our exclusive use helicopter contracts for the year. We see the blue helicopter sitting down at Auburn. That's back for this season. That's going to continue in perpetuity as long as we would like it there. So we're excited about that. We also have a second helicopter we brought on contract. We had it last year as well, except it was up at Truckee Airport. And this year, just due to weather and fuels and moisture up in the high country, we've decided to move it down to Grass Valley for the year. So that's a great, another initial attack tool for us here locally. It's a short flight times over to here. Burn suspension went into effect on Monday as well with the peak staffing. And you'll see that in effect throughout the summer until late fall when we get some wetting rains and some significant weather. And then just for fires and acres, and these numbers are for Northern California in general. This year we've had 853 fires for 986 acres. And to put that in perspective, last year during the same time frame, we had 1,344 acres for almost 6,000 acres. So that just goes to show you how slow our fire season has been up to this point. It's really it's going to take a little bit for all those fuels to dry out after the weather we've had over the winter. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any nonprofits here this evening to give a report? Any online?
None online.
All right. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and move directly to our public comment part of the agenda. This is the section of the agenda to speak on topics that are not agendized. So we will, and I'm going to give some housekeeping items at this time. We will be addressing later on the agenda the fact that we will be doing interviews for the candidates who are here tonight for City Council. We would like to give an opportunity for folks to ask questions to the candidates, but we will not do that during the interviews. We want to make sure that the interviews are smooth and they are cohesive and go forward. What we'll do is we will accept comments, questions from the public directly before item 9B. And at that time, we will allow the candidates to answer your questions within the allotted 5-minute period you have for your public comment. So at this time, if anyone has any comments or questions that are not on the agenda this evening, we would be happy to have you come up to the podium.
Madam Mayor, Council, thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Jim Dion. I have the business at 233 Highway 174. I'm here tonight because I'd like to request something from the council. I'm not quite sure exactly how to go about this, but I was a little late tonight paying my taxes. This is the $904 for my privilege of having to apply again. And this is the payroll tax, the sales tax from last year. I'm going to pay that. And I have this next month coming up my business license. I kind of explained this a little bit before. My business license, again, is $7,187, which is over 10% higher than anybody else. I'm willing to do that. I don't have a problem with it. Where I do have a problem is the implementation fee. $1,600. This fee was originally brought up by council and voted on and put in the ordinance. There were 5 different licenses that were going to be allowed. They're on the application now: cultivation, distribution, manufacturing, retail, microbusiness, and testing. And at the time, the idea was to have this money that pays a company to come and make sure that we stay in compliance. Well, at the time, when there were 6 different licenses, this $60,000 or whatever it is that they were going to pay this company, it was all split up. Last year, for instance, there was still another company that was involved in Colfax, and they paid half of it, so it was $4,500. I can't do $9,600 right now, and I'm willing to pay this, but I'm asking council to allow me to do it incrementally, like $1,000 a month or something, so I can get caught up that way. Otherwise, I'm going to get the cash in my 401k, and I'd rather not do that to keep my business going. It's really hurting me to not be able to do adult use, first of all, and I have to pay this $17,782 this month. So I'm
Jim,
not
could you
quite
remind me
sure.
the due date?
Pardon?
Could you remind me the due date?
I'm sorry, say again.
The due date of that particular bill? What is our time constraint?
This, the sales tax is due by the end of the month, right? Which I'm going to do now. The other, I'm pretty sure, is in June.
Okay.
So I probably have the month of the 7,000 for the business license, and then the 9,000. Like I said, I don't know, Nick, if you're listening, is it possible to do that, or are we going to have to go through the
Comment section, but if it's considered existentially time critical, then we do have the ability to tack it on to the end of the agenda. Is that correct, Mick?
Talk about the deferral of the pro rata share of implementation costs. You can ask that it be placed on a future agenda. There's no basis for talking about it on tonight's agenda.
Okay, then we will bring it up during the good of the order. And during the good of the order, I will request a special meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good evening, council. My name is Tim Dion, and I represent business at 233 Highway 174 also. So just real quick, there are a new regulations that are being readopted once again for the delivery of the track and trace requirements for delivery. And it applies to all licenses. And the first sentence is: a licensed retailer conducting delivery shall record all deliveries of cannabis goods on a delivery inventory ledger within the track and trace system. That's what we use. It's metric. Anyways, there's a lot of things that are coming up that are being changed. And I was wondering if we could get on maybe some discussion on a review of the ordinance to make sure it's still in compliance with state laws and retroactive to, whenever we're gonna, to the date. So it explains that whether the customer is an adult use customer, a medical cannabis patient, or a patient's primary caregiver, there's 3 customers right there that apply to this track and trace requirement for delivery. And I'm wondering if this affects our business at all, either our vested rights or whether it modifies or suppresses the effects of our license.
That's very helpful. Tim, if you could email over the specific questions you want answered, we actually have agendized opening the ordinance.
Okay.
So having those questions in advance to be able to provide responses would be very helpful.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment?
I should have sat closer to the front, I think. Want to talk about the good of the order. This has just started happening, I think, about 6 years ago, where the council gets to talk about what they want to talk about with no public comment afterwards. I'd like to see public comment added so that we can respond to what's being said by the council, as you're coming up with ideas. And, we can like shoot it down or talk it through before you agendize it. I'm thinking that's how we got our chicken ordinances. It got brought up and then next thing you know, it's on the agenda. And anyway, what I'm really here for is talk about electing the mayor. We used to elect mayors here and we had a ballot measure to have it appointed amongst council members. And it seems to work really well that way. Because of the turnover, if you have an elected mayor and they have to step down, they move, they get sick, whatever, we got to have another election. Another thing is if we have a bad mayor, it's only for a year. So the city can survive that. And also, I think the council could remove a mayor if necessary. So I think that's really not a good idea. And if we do move forward with it, I'd like to have the council, everybody, say, yes, let's move forward with it, or no, let's not, rather than spending time, money, and energy on looking into it. And let's see if I have anything else here. That's it.
Thanks, Tom. All right, do we have any additional public comment? Anything online?
Nothing online.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment at this time. We're going to go ahead and move directly to council and staff reports, starting with Sean.
Just one thing, the Placer Sierra Fire Safe Council approved a letter of support for a fuel project and a forest resiliency project for the forest. The Forest Services planning. It's going to be between Alta and Blue Canyon and Nyack.
Okay.
So it's a good project. They're looking at starting it next year.
Nice.
See that go through. That's all I have.
Thank you. Kim?
Okay, I attended a pioneer meeting and we're spending a lot of money trying to get our percentage from 85 that are with Pioneer, and we're trying to get that back to the 92% where we started out years ago. So we're spending a lot of money advertising, and that was the main gist of the meeting, how to get back to the 92% participation rate. Then was at a meeting at Pasco County Economic Development Board, and everybody talks about all the projects in each of their jurisdictions. The only noteworthy thing in that meeting was that they repeated to me that they're willing to help any business owner here in Colfax in any way, and it wasn't just something on paper. They actually mean it, that they want to help anybody. And then
our District 3 representative was here, right here, and I met with him, the representative for Kevin Connolly. His name is Edward Heidig, and we went over some options of how to get USDA grant funding. So we're going to start that process. It's a long, slow process, but at least we'll get the process going, and maybe one of the two people that fills one of these seats can continue it, because that's not my expertise, but I just want to get it going and then pass it on to some person before they find out how much work it is. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't have anything. Oh, sorry, what was that? Oh, I don't have any notable reports from any of our outside boards for this meeting. City did not burn down in my care, so that's good. Very happy to have Mike officially on board as of today. So we do have a sitting city manager as of today. With that, I'm going to pass it to Mike for his updates and reports.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Just a few quick things, and those will span my, I would say, volunteer period, which I was helping out the city in the last few weeks. And then, yes, today is my first official day. So just to cover a few things. One is, I think you all received a copy of the Placer County Grand Jury Report. There's two items of note in there, the Colfax complaint process for employees, and there was a response by the city manager to that effect in there. And so that issue appears to be closed. But there's also a request by the grand jury for jurisdictions within Placer County to fund homeless services, specifically low barrier homeless services, and just wanted to report that the county CEO and city managers group are going to begin to meet on that process, and we'll return back to you with their recommendations on how to move forward. The county has also prepared a response, but we're going to meet probably several times and then come back to you with a unified response. Just a quick update on the Colfax Downtown Connectivity and Main Street Improvement Program. We're our consultant and staff team, which includes our city planner and myself, and the consultant team are kind of wrapping up the first phase of the outreach of the project. Happy to report that we've received 15 comments from Colfax residents on the website. And also the team has spoke to about 40 persons in the community at tables and other outreach events. Quite a bit of feedback, in fact, at the tables. We've also met with a number of groups, including the Historic Society, emergency services staff, local artists, Colfax Elementary, business owners, Chamber of Commerce, and we're incorporating all those comments into that process. They'll also be out on July 3rd at a table to take comments in this first phase, and then they'll be making some preliminary recommendations and then getting feedback on those in that process. Just a quick update on the sewer project. We had after the council action at the last meeting, we had our on the I&I project, the infiltration and part of the project. So essentially to prevent stormwater from coming into the system. That part of the project, we met with and had the pre-construction meeting with McGuire and Hester, the contractor chosen by the council. And then we had a pre-planning meeting with the other contractor who's doing the work at the sewage treatment plant. Again, that's not a pre-construction meeting, but just a pre-planning and how we're incorporating the council's request for the buffer for funding. So that's all in the planning process, but we just want to report that we've begun that process. The other really important project for the council is the CDBG paving project. That's where we've applied for and received conditional approval or a conditional award from the Department of Housing and Community Development to pave a number of streets in the community. We're happy to report that we've complied with the first submittal, if you will, with HCD of getting information to them to start that grant process. We do, however, need to begin the process of actually design of the project. And so the council hired GHD to do that design process. And so using the funding, the SB1 funding that was identified for the project, we will begin having GHD complete that design. And then once we submit the design to HCD, then they give us their formal approval. So it's a bit of a unique process and kind of two-step process. So we're going to do the design, submit the design, then they give us the formal award, and then we go out to bid.
So my understanding at this time is we have a conditional award
Yes.
pending the approval of our designs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions on that from council?
Okay. Sorry, my computer's not cooperating here. No. We also participated in the first SACOG blueprint process last week. So that's where the SACOG is going to take another look at land use and its connectivity to transportation. And I attended a meeting down in Folsom, which is a regional meeting on what that's all going to mean. And we'll be bringing back that information to the council as more information becomes available. But that's a very important process as part of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. A number of jurisdictions within Placer County are concerned, if you will, about that process to make sure that the SACOG and its staff and other entities in the region are respectful of the either rural or suburban type of development that we have here in Placer County. And so we're trying to get those ideas across in that blueprint process. So quite a few people in Placer County participating in that process. And then last thing, just follow up, we on meeting related equipment, we did receive a quote for cable broadcasting of meetings. Fortunately, that quote was only for $155. So we proceeded to and Marguerite is implementing that as we speak. So hopefully very soon we'll have cable broadcasting on Wave Communications, or as it's now called, Astound. So, I cover that okay? Okay.
Thank you.
That's it for me tonight.
Wonderful. In the spirit of honoring Tom's request, do we have any public comment on any of the agents or any of the council reports this evening?
Hi, Tim Ryan. Can you expand a little bit more on the economic development of what you're doing? That's financial, or how we're going to help our businesses?
Oh, I think you're referring to Placer County Economic Development Board.
That
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah. I can't respond specifically. They just said they're open to talk to any business at any time. They can't tell us what to do. They want a business owner to go to them and say, I need help trying to implement their plan. So a business owner needs to come up with a plan and go to them or go with me to a meeting, and then they'll help them refine it. Or
so are they going to be outreaching to our businesses, or do our businesses, will they get information from you or somebody and then contact them?
The business owner has to be the one to initiate it. I mean, they could go with me to a meeting.
And how are they aware of this?
Pardon?
So I think what Kim's doing is he's trying to give a report on it. And then at this point, what we can do is, Kim, if you're able to get contact material, we can share that with the chamber.
That's what,
and then it sounds like the services provided are the strategist services. So they'll be able to help refine a business plan or help with other issues.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I just wanted to see how we could get it to our businesses.
Perfect.
Cool. Thanks.
So, yeah, if you've got one, that'd be perfect.
So for Placer County Economic Development Board, the phone number is 530-889-4016. Again, 530-889-4016.
And we'll be sure to share that with the Chamber of Commerce, and we will explore if there's a way for us to get that on our website. All right. Any other public comment on the council reports? Do we have a microphone that we can pass her? That sounds like she's going to the podium.
It's, you meet halfway.
We can bring you a microphone. Okay. I'm sure folks at home can hear you.
Luana Robinson, and I'm a Colfax resident and former business owner for 40 some odd years here in Colfax. And in regard to the Main Street project, I have not been able to get a good answer about who is going to be making final decisions and with all the input. Will there be more questions and answers from the public?
So, and Mike can probably speak to this more, once the design is finalized, in the sense that we have a proposal in front of council, there'll be a public hearing session. And during that public hearing, there will be another opportunity for the public to give feedback and input. And ultimately, the council will make the final decision.
Okay, my concern is that we are able to keep Colfax and the history of Colfax very active. What kind of occurred in the conversation when the ladies were here giving their presentation was talking about moving the caboose, moving the equipment that's downtown. And I said, well, you know, that's what started Colfax. That's the basis of why we're here, because of mining and the railroad. And so I don't want to see that go away and happen with, so that we're another Anywhere USA community. And I really don't want that to happen to Colfax. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Close up. Okay, so there will be a booth on July 3rd collecting additional public input as well.
Yeah, I would, Madam Mayor, I would say that they're kind of out there exploring and showing what can be done. But certainly, as was indicated, we have to be very sensitive to the historic nature of the community and its foundations, and be respectful of what is transpired over the past in Colfax. So sometimes what they say, a consultant team, they're saying, well, what is possible, not what should be done. So, yeah.
I also want to just bring up one more point on that subject. The downtown rehabilitation project that this is a planning and scoping project. There are not funds allocated or granted for the actual final construction. So as far as I'm concerned right now, this is an opportunity to dream and to write down those dreams and to get them scoped. So if grant funding in the future comes up, we can pursue it and have that available to lessen our burden for financial matching. But at this time, there is not a funding source lined up to proceed with any actual execution of those plans. So I just want to make sure that we have a transparency here with the public and everybody understands that, you know, while this exercise is happening and this input is being collected with grant money, we do not have funds lined up to push that forward. So keep that in mind, that this is not going to be an overnight thing. All right. If we do not have any additional public comment on the council reports, we will go ahead and move directly into our council business, starting with the 3rd of July event coordinator funding request for 2023. Recommendation, discuss and consider the Green Machine request for $13,500 to fund the fireworks and general cost of the event.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, the staff report before you as requested by the council at the last meeting outlines the history of contributions the city has made to various events from 2012 all the way through 2023 to enable you to make a decision on the request from Andrea Harrison for $13,500 for this year's event. So the council requests that kind of historic information be pulled together. Lori Van Groningen, our finance director, pulled that together and it was presented to you tonight so that you could discuss a potential contribution.
So I have a question right off the bat for Lori. I do know that this pushes us over budget for what we've allocated. Do you know by how much? Okay. Perfect. So with that, to discussion.
Any discussion on 20,000? For fireworks.
20,000 total then.
So
I'll start. So we got 20,000 total for the year. We haven't made any contributions yet. That'll a little tight for Winterfest if they have the same. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So this one, yeah. It did say that on the top of it.
yeah, because we spent money for Winterfest and for I think Railroad Days as well.
So fiscal year ends July 1st, so we start over with a new pot of money. June 30th, so.
Yes, you have $11,000 left in fiscal year 22-23, and then nothing has been spent because the fiscal year has not started
for 23-24.
23-24.
So.
Here's my thought, if this helps kind of guide the discussion. We will be issuing the check prior to July 1st is the intent. So it would come out of this fiscal year's budget and leave us clean for next year. I am okay with an amendment, but I do feel that we should be conservative to what the intent was when we made the decision that we would fund fireworks for these two events. And my intent behind that was that we would augment our regular donation to become us sponsoring the fireworks. So the concession I would recommend is that we sponsor the 12.5 and that we deny the request for the general cost, the 1,000. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts.
I would tend to agree with that. When I first moved here, a lot of money was raised by the citizens and everybody thought it was their fireworks, but now it's almost like we're getting to a point where the government's fireworks, and it just seems we're relying more and more on government.
The government's money is the people's money, so I think it's appropriate to give the money back to the people every now and again. We don't make anything, produce anything. There's no such thing as government money. It's always the people's money. But
Well, the government.
the Main Street businesses could do a lot better towards donations because the Main Street businesses make the most money off of the event compared to all the other businesses in town. And my understanding from the reports that we've seen from the Green Machine is that the contributions from the Main Street businesses are feeble by comparison. I'm not saying all of them, but there's a few and they know who they are. So I would encourage them to, take that into consideration with these major events that do have major cash flow for them.
Yeah, that's all I have.
I'm okay with your proposal and amending it to pay for the cost of the fireworks and keep that pretty consistent between the events.
Okay. We'll take public comment on the item. Does anybody have any public comment on this item?
Suzanne Roberts from Colfax, and Madam Mayor and council members. Back in the day, and that Kim just referred to, we provided a $500 subsidy to this event. And it's been pretty consistent up until recently when the Green Machine requested and apparently received $11,000 last year. And I want to know if anybody has seen a financial report from the Green Machine.
And if you've seen what they can contribute, because it seems to me that they're relying on the city to take care of them. In the past, we had fundraisers. We sold, I bought the Works buttons and they were able to pay for those events. So my question is, if you see a financial report and it justifies this, you know, they have a lot of events going on throughout the year to raise money for these events. And then they come to you on the 14th of June, which is 2 weeks ago, saying we want $13,000. That's something, that's a definite red flag. So I would want you to look at that a little more closely, because now you've set a precedent, last year.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And yes, we did have a very formal and lengthy budgetary discussion where the council committed to funding fireworks 2 times per year, once at the 3rd of July and once at Winterfest. And that is the city taking on that obligation. And we did see, or at least I should say, those of us who directly report and liaison to those committees did see financial reports from those entities that put on those events. Tim, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, Tim Ryan. And we had supplied financial reports for the money that is being spent. Unfortunately, the cost of these fireworks has gone up substantially. And yes, there are a lot of fundraisers that go on during the year, but the amount that we can only pull out of our city is kind of stretched with all the nonprofit organizations. So it was to reach, and this is for Winterfest also, and it was to reach out to the city for assistance to see that we can keep the fireworks going here, because it is one of the biggest draws for our events. And that is also July 3rd and Winterfest. So I hopefully, in the future, we could have more money, more income from businesses and from other citizens. I think Kim mentioned something that it was more like the citizens that contributed to this. That being said, it does take an awful lot of time and a lot of volunteers from your nonprofit organizations. And basically, it gets pretty thin and you kind of lose people on that. If we could get more volunteers, we can do more. It's a cycle. It is just a cycle that goes on. Now, and that also, so you're saying now you're looking at approving the money for July 3rd. What is the consideration then for Winterfest? Is it still the same, or are we using up all the money?
So this would be out of this fiscal year, and this fiscal year ends in 2 days. So
Okay.
when Winterfest is being assessed, it would be part of the next fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
What we have allocated in our budget is a total of $20,000 for the nonprofit events funding.
Okay.
So that's where we stand today. So the proposal on the table right now is to do a budget amendment for this year to accommodate the 12.5, not the 13.5.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to maintain our commitment that we made to the nonprofits that we would sponsor the fireworks.
Yeah, so the remainder would go to Winterfest.
Next year.
Well, you guys would come to us with the formal amount once you receive the quote, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. It would be requested then. And the thing is, July 3rd, with the fireworks companies, there are a lot more just because of July 4th going on. That's where with Winterfest, we don't have as big a budget as what they do for July 3rd. So this is where these costs have really come in. And believe me, the nonprofits, and I also do believe the city has benefited from having the fireworks and everything you guys have contributed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Sharon Connors, Colfax resident, Milk Branch Road. I have a question. Now, I'm sure I can go, and I probably will do that, go look at these nonprofits, their tax returns and see how they spend their money and what they do, because it's all online. It has to be public. My question is the money they make from the 3rd of July and from Winterfest, is that money put back into the next year's?
So there is a specific allocation that is allowed to be returned to future events. But Green Machine is set on a bylaw structure that the majority of the funds that come in are required to be dispersed among the group volunteer. And they are all youth nonprofit programs. So the Colfax Falcons, the Junior Falcons, the cheer, the baseball program, all the different sports programs that the schools put on, they are all absorbed as part of Green Machine, and their groups are required to set a number of hours to volunteer in order to have that money be donated to their program. And it's based on the amount that they put in.
I know,
So-
as a part, I belong to some nonprofits,
Yes.
and we do fund those groups. You know, we supply funds to help support each one of those events that they have.
Yep.
So we're supplying and supporting that as well. And so my question is like the 3rd of July, why is that money not coming back to the next event? Because they do have fundraisers throughout the year, each one of those organizations, and most of the nonprofits fund those and contribute to their profit on those to support those programs that they have.
So I'll ask for a public report from the Green Machine this year to be able to break that down. And I can ask for one from last year as well. But the long and short of it is that Green Machine is not a profit generating event for the nonprofits. And it does not have a rollover balance that is high enough to support the following year's event. Because the majority of the pull-in is required to be dispersed among the volunteer youth groups.
And that's not really clear to me or to a lot of people. What does that support in those volunteer groups? Because if you want to play a sport, you have to pay, you know, so I'm not really clear of what that money supports in those groups. Someone else as a parent probably would know.
I can say, being on the football board, that the money we get from Green Machine helps us buy the gear, that pay for the field, all the stuff. I mean, we still collect fees to play, and that helps recruit several losses. All the uniforms, all the new equipment we have to buy every year, and
They don't pay for their own uniforms?
no.
When you enroll in a sport, let's just say Junior Falcons, for example, 1 year for a 7-year-old to do it was
It's very
upwards of
expensive.
$500
Yeah,
per
because
child
they have
per
to- they have
season.
to buy their own equipment and everything.
And
They're buying cleats and a few other smaller items, but the uniforms, the pads that go with it, like the football pads and things like that, that's all provided by the.
But I think you should make it known to the public of exactly where that money that they're asking for, where it's going to.
And I'm sure they'd love to provide that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Makes everyone else feel more comfortable in making sure that that's where city money is going to, other than a project that maybe someone else in the community or group would want it to go to.
This money we're allocating specifically for the fireworks, and we'll be tracking that with Green Machine to make sure that's the cost and that's what it's going to.
But I'm sure they would be thrilled to provide that information, because it definitely gives an opportunity to highlight. And I think that you're right. And I think a lot of people would feel a lot more comfortable personally donating, knowing that information.
Where
as
the
well.
money goes to. That's just common knowledge that people want to see, you know, where it's going, to feel comfortable about why am I giving to you? Thank you.
Thank you. We have additional public comment.
Sorry, I'll be quick. So
You get a full 5 minutes, like.
Very good. So I'm also usually a vendor at Dave's Inventive Apparel, the brick hats that you see on my head. At July 3rd events and Winterfest as well. Last Winterfest, I know was kind of rare versus the ones before, but as we can probably all remember, there was only 1 or 2 of us that were able to stay. And that was because we were able to move up on the sidewalk. Our canopies, all of our equipment was ripped to shreds. So with that being in mind, if we're even, I know we can't really guess what kind of winter we're having, but based off of what kind of happened last Winterfest, I don't see a lot of vendors being there because of that. Hopefully there's going to be a lot. I'm not saying that, you know, hopefully we get a lot, but I'm not seeing it being as popular as July 3rd. That's for sure. July 3rd, we're good. You look outside at the weather right now, I don't think any of our canopies are going to be ripped away and shredded. And so there's going to be a lot more people probably frequenting July 3rd than there will be in Winterfest, because considering how the winters have been, it's kind of a kind of hard to put anything on during that time. But so in my opinion, I think if we're thinking of 12,000 versus 8,000, let's say for Winterfest, I would assume July 3rd event would probably need a little bit more than Winterfest would, but I could be wrong. But yeah.
Thank you. Tim, I hate to do this to you, but if I take a second, okay, good. All right, last call on public comment. Do we have comment online?
We do have a public comment online from Deanna. She states Green Machine's purpose is to fundraise money for our local youth programs. Our local youth programs also are able to fundraise substantial amounts of money during our events through our booths. We appreciate the city's support.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment at this time. If we don't have anyone else, we'll bring it back for discussion decision.
Got anything else to say?
Oh, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the Green Machines request for 12,500.
My second.
Okay,
And then the amount cover just the fireworks.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, with that, we're moving to item 9B. I know that's what y'all are here for, folks. So 9B, we're going to go ahead and take public comment first. This is an opportunity for folks who would like to ask questions to the council candidates. If you have anything that you'd like to bring up or anything you'd like to make sure gets covered, you may do so now. Marguerite, can we put a copy of the questions up on the podium? If there's a question on this list that's particularly important to you and you want to make sure that we ask all the candidates this question, please let us know so that we can consider that. Council will deliberate directly in front of you as to which ones of these questions we are going to ask the candidates. We're going to ask all candidates the same questions. Every candidate was provided these questions in advance so that they could be prepared this evening to give an articulate and concise answer. With that being said, do we have any public comment on this? Come on, Diane, I know you want to get up there.
What we're here for.
Okay. I'd just like to know where your stand is on recreational marijuana.
Council, close your ears. We should not take any political positions on this one.
Plug your ears. Plug your ears.
Yeah, well, the public has the right to ask whatever they like, but we will not consider it for the purpose of our decision making.
I know that. I've already tried a bunch of times. It doesn't work.
It'd be very appropriate.
I'm sorry? I don't know these names.
Everybody.
Everybody. Okay. Okay. What are your feelings on it?
Let's do a mic check real quick. Just give it a tap, see if it's working. All right, perfect.
And I would have to staff report. Stick.
All right. Okay. And you all feel that way, so it's up for grabs.
I'm going to say it's not a decision based on feelings. There's a whole lot more
Right.
involved in it. Both good for the community.
Exactly.
It's not a feeling. Your question is whether you're feeling bad. Feelings don't matter.
Well, okay, so not just feelings, but your knowledge on it, or how you.
It's your sense. So
I'm just wondering where everybody stands.
sure, yeah.
And I'm medical.
So
Recreational marijuana.
speak probably as a former teenager. I remember back in high school and all the kids doing their thing and drinking and smoking, partying, doing all whatever it is. But what I've come to notice as an adult
I'm sure you guys have all noticed this as well. But 5 bars, 4 or 5 bars in town, alcohol is more damaging than marijuana by miles, by light years. I'm 35 myself and relatively healthy. I went into liver failure 2 Octobers ago. I was 75 pounds heavier than I am right now. So my question is, I think there's other issues that could probably be touched on as far as before marijuana. I think we could use a lot more businesses that aren't bars that can cater to kids that aren't just bars. There can be a lot of other things we can develop in this town.
Exactly.
Better for not just kids, but the community too.
There's 2 other candidates who need to answer within her public comment.
My name is Larry Hilbert. We have an ordinance in this community that supports medical marijuana.
Yep.
And we have a business that's licensed and, wine with baseball. Yep. And so I don't know if something came up in front of me, not be against a business that applies with the that we've been given.
I'm going to pass it to Dakota.
Medical marijuana.
I wasn't talking about medical marijuana, I was talking about recreational. Yeah, that's okay.
Go ahead, Dakota.
I agree with you with medical marijuana.
Honestly, I agree with what he said. I would have to look at what is presented and if they're following laws and regulations. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
It's still your floor for 55 more seconds, Diane. Do you feel you got your answers that you wanted or clarification?
Not really. I just wanted to know how everyone felt about their views of their stand on having added. We do have a lot of bars as a problem, and so recreational marijuana is just one more thing to add to it. But the way the world's going, I guess it's going to go that way anyway. I want to just want to make a point about all the addictive drugs and stuff. That it's not helping our children or this community. So,
thank you. All right. Do we have anyone else who'd like to make a public comment or ask a question of any of the candidates?
I'm getting up here way too often and I apologize, but I do have questions. I was just wondering to the candidates, I don't know all of you and possibly if you could state your name and then can I ask one of the questions that's on this sheet? It's asking what are your 2 goals, why you are running for city council?
The city council just to learn a lot about local government. So it's fascinated me. I thought the opportunity was here. So like the historical, just honestly, like I feel in this town, I would love to stay. I would like the whole idea of it modernizing.
Well, Suzanne Roberts, and I had previously served on council for 6 years. I think 2 of the goals that when I was campaigning are still there, and that's to ensure streets and sidewalks.
My name is Caroline McCulley, and in short, they want to be able to do what I can to make sure the community stays where they're comfortable letting their kids go out and do what kids not necessarily being our corner creatures, but being able to go out with their hand, ride their bikes, go up to the park, anything to keep them from going to the dark places. Make it a place where they can stay out.
Andy Cave. Hi, guys. I think the 2 goals that I would probably try to focus on is to kind of parakeet off what everyone else said, but definitely keeping
the community is small and we're building too much. I love in Northern California, we kind of have, I'm not sure which laws it are, but laws where we can't even build too much along the freeway. Keep our trees visible. We keep plant life, we keep air clean. I know that I grew up a lot before I moved down here. I grew up in Truckee. And Truckee has grown way too big for its britches. Being a local up there, we couldn't even shop groceries. I don't want Colfax to ever turn into that. As soon as I graduated high school, I moved down to Colfax. And that there's a reason for that. It's not just because it was not as busy, but my daughters can walk down the street to Dollar General from my house and fine. Trust people in our community. There's not a lot of crime. We don't hear of gunshots that are going at least to people. As much as our surrounding cities like Rockland, Roseville, Sacramento. I've managed a lot of businesses in those areas, and I can tell you that the Colfax is a whole different world. We do not want it to get anywhere near that. So I'd be focusing a lot of my time on that.
My name is Larry Hilbert. I'd like to see us enhance the downtown area, so support businesses, people out there. And secondly, from the council perspective, strong, proactive, and public transparency to give people that.
All right, thank you. Do we have any additional public comment or questions for our candidates? Yeah, you've got 55 more seconds. Just
So I just want to ask each candidate, how would you develop our city here and hopefully get our businesses open and step?
So Tim, I don't think you have enough time on the clock for everyone to answer, but what we can do is we can take note of that question and we can include it when we interview everybody. Does that sound good to you? Perfect. Would anybody else like an opportunity to speak? All right. Seeing none, it looks like we can go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and deliberate really quick on which questions we're going to ask the candidates. Did everybody pick a few that they like? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just list off some numbers and let me know what you guys think. I was looking at number 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 12, 18, 22, and 25.
Why don't you just take the first 3 that you said then?
Okay, well, as far as the total, which ones we're gonna actually ask them?
Are we gonna each pick 3?
Yeah, we can each pick 3.
Let's do that.
Okay. So if everyone's happy with us making sure we ask 1, 4, and 5.
All you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 6, but I also had those other ones picked as my first go around.
So
But 6.
I'm hoping we can go through the list of 25, at least select which ones we all agree we want to make sure they all answer, and then we'll just break it up. We'll just go we'll go in a circle.
Just pick 3.
Yeah, whatever works.
Pick the top 3 questions and
Yeah,
go for it. We're only gonna ask 6, or sorry, 9.
you can ask 9.
9.
Okay. What else do you want to ask?
Oh, for me asking, sorry, that was, I want to do 10, 16, and 22.
Okay. You, and then Kim, you want to ask which ones are most important to you?
6, 15, and 23.
6,
Perfect.
15, and 23. Okay. And then I will ask 1, 4, 1, 4, and, oh wait, has anyone claimed number 9?
No.
No one has? Okay, then I'm gonna ask 1, 4, and 9.
Okay.
We'll let everybody do a very brief introduction before we get into questions.
Good idea.
So I'm just going to set some expectations really quickly. We did provide these questions in advance to all of the candidates. So I am going to ask politely that everybody keep in mind that we do need to get through all the candidates this evening. I would appreciate that, you know, everybody keep their answers concise and to the point and be respectful of everybody's time. So that way no member of the public feels that they didn't get the opportunity to watch the entirety of the interviews. With that being said, we can go ahead and proceed with the interviews. I had written them down in the order in which people actually applied, which is the order that our lovely clerk had sent them over to us in an email. So with that, we can go ahead and get started with Andy Cave. You'll be our first interviewee. No, unfortunately, we do have 2 candidates that are not here tonight, Nicole Maldonado and Traveris Butler. Traveris Butler was unable to attend tonight because he was called off on an emergency for work. He works for, well, I'm not going to disclose his employment, but he does work in a line of work that does require sometimes emergency calls and emergency response. Nicole Maldonado, did we receive a response or a reason? We did not. Okay. So that's where we stand at this time. All right. So Andy, I'm going to go ahead and have you just say your name and a very quick introduction.
Sure.
And then I'll ask you your first question.
Okay. Andy Cave, or John Andrew Brown Cave III. It's my technical name. But I'm the town mailman is what most people know me as, or the Lego hat guy. So good to meet you guys.
Okay. All right. So please state the top 2 reasons you are seeking appointment to the city council.
So as a small town business owner myself, I know the struggle of trying to keep revenue coming into the town, keeping the business alive. I have noticed that there's smaller towns like Loomis and Newcastle that were able to kind of zone in their traffic from out of towners, so to speak, by creating a sign or kind of an archway over their roadway. So basically South Auburn Street there, where the intersection meets with 174, I would try to propose that we put up kind of like a wrought iron archway that would have little plaques of each business telling those people that are getting off the roadway, South Auburn Street is not all we have. Keep going. We have Main Street. We have our historical downtown. I feel like we lose a lot of the freeway revenue because they see Starbucks, they see 76, they see those freeway signs, but they don't keep going further. So focusing on trying to get more revenue into town, whether it be that idea or other ideas, is probably one of my biggest goals, because we need the town to survive. I know I don't want us to be super big, obviously, like Sacramento or any of the other areas, but I don't want to see Main Street emptying up like it has been, and businesses coming in and leaving pretty quick. The other goal I would have for seeking one on the city councils looks like what we've discussed before. There's been a high turnover for city council, so it looks like we kind of need people that are willing to stay, sit in Colfax, and be here for the town. So that's what I want to be for.
Thank you. What do you consider to be the primary roles of members of the city council?
The primary roles would be supporting the city in every way, not just the public, but like we were discussing, the roadways, the buildings, everything to do with the city. So the insides and outs. So whether it be a budget committees, whether it be approving or discussing grants, like you were saying with the roads being fixed, it's a little bit of everything. City council, I'm obviously going to probably learn a lot more if I was to be chosen to be on the council, but it's exciting to me to be part of something that's a little bit bigger than myself, and hopefully I can help. So,
okay. Kim, I have you for number 6. Do you want to go ahead and ask that one?
Yeah, number 6. What do you consider to be the city's top priorities? It says 3, but 2 is okay. Sure. It says 5 years, but doesn't have to be 5. It could be in the coming years.
Sure.
Priorities.
I would hope it would be the roadways. It sounds like it is going to be. I know just myself from personal experience in the mail truck. I've probably had to replace 2 or 3 times of just the tire itself popping from going over deep potholes. As well as in my personal vehicle, I'm sure all of us have probably experienced some of that. So the roadways being better, and then I'm hoping that we can do something to prioritize the business and all the businesses in downtown getting either just as much attention or more so, hopefully, than the businesses on South Auburn. Because I think people kind of see that and they turn around, and they leave and go to Tahoe or Auburn or wherever they're going. So that'd be nice to see that prioritized.
Okay. What potential conflicts of interest will arise if you are appointed to serve as a council member?
So as I was saying earlier, I've actually left the post office now. So no longer with them. That was eating up a lot of my time. So I don't really have anything that would be barring some kind of child emergency with my 2 teen daughters. But other than that, yeah.
I should clarify, by conflict of interest, what we're referring to is something that would require you to recuse yourself or otherwise not be able to act in your capacity as a council member.
Sure. Nothing I can think of. Post office has done a pretty substantial background check on me because we're federal employees. So nothing in my background would be a flag. Nothing I can think of. Yeah.
All right, Sean, it looks like you got the next question.
So the council currently has 2 regular evening meetings per month. And council members are also assigned to serve on council committees on outside agencies. What professional or personal constraints do you have on your time for service?
Sure. So again, the only my wife works full time. She's here at the pharmacy here at Colfax Pharmacy. So I'm the stay-at-home dad. So I kind of have all the time to be honest. So I have my own transportation and stuff, so that wouldn't be an issue either. So as long as I can afford a good thing, should be good.
All right, Kim, you've got the next question.
Okay, number
15.
15. What is your vision for this city and what skills would you bring to this position that would help you accomplish that vision?
So I think the kids need a lot more to do in this town. As much as I love Colfax, I remember when I was growing up in Auburn, there was a place called Game Country. I'm not sure if you guys remember this, but it's a little spot where before we had internet and online gaming, it's still the point of this place was great. And I want to try to see if we can bring this back into Colfax. I think it would be beneficial to all the kids. They're going to love it. It's a place where you would actually go in and rent the video game systems per half an hour per hour. So all those kids that want to play video games and they either don't have a system at home or they don't have something to do at home, whatever the reason may be, this building, they can walk in, they can have their own TV. There's tons of TVs, different systems, and they can rent these little systems. They can buy snacks. They can do all kinds of stuff. There's also a little spot in there for homework. They had their own computers set up, kind of like an extra library. This place also is designated for Girls and Boys Club as a safe dropout point for the schools. So not only were the kids, going there just because it was a fun place to go, but the buses would actually drop them off from the schools on their route. So I think creating some kind of atmosphere or business like that in Colfax would be great. I'm actually myself thinking about, I'm actually next year going to be doing a class with the elementary school to teach them how to build Lego hats. Aside from that, I'm also going to try to do a business like that in town. I'm looking to actually get a spot either on Main Street or South Auburn to where kids can come in and they can build their own Lego hat. So stuff like that, I think really needs to be pushed forward in Colfax because like we were saying earlier, we don't want them to go become corner creatures or the drugs or alcohol. I think that the youth needs a lot more.
Okay, Sean, you've got the next question.
So in your opinion, what needs to be done to improve the city's visibility, transparency, and service to the public?
I think you guys are kind of already doing that with the road project. That's going to help transportation a lot. I know that we were struggling with the buses for a minute with the elementary school and the high school. It seems like that issue has gotten, if not resolved, is pretty close to being resolved. So honestly, the roundabout has helped a lot of traffic as well. I think unless new ideas come forward that might progress those ideas better, I think we're kind of already doing a good job on it.
Thank you. Sean, you also have the next one.
All right. And are you planning on running in the 2024 general election, or are you so interested in seeking a short-term appointment right now?
No, I'm definitely seeking to run in the 2024 election as well. Yeah, I've been willing to do this for years, but the post office, we work 16, 18-hour days, sometimes 80 to 100 days at a time. So never had any time available, but now my schedule's open. So.
Okay. And Kim, you have the last question.
Last question. Okay, I think that was 23.
Yes.
Number 23. What would you like, your legacy, how would you like to be remembered as a member of the city council after you retire?
Sure. I guess I would want to be remembered as somebody who listened to everyone. That's kind of how I see myself in a way. I've done a lot of retail management and a lot of businesses before I was a mailman. I did my 20 years, so to speak. So I've learned a lot with sociology and psychology of people in general. So I'd like to be known as somebody who can be approached. That's an approachable person. And it seems like that's already the case in town. I've been told many times that you should run for city council. So I feel like that's probably the best part. Yeah, is being able to reach to everybody, not just certain sections of Colfax, but everybody should be able to come up and talk to a city council member at any moment in time and not feel nervous or not feel guilty or not feel like they're burdening. So I hope that I can fill that shoe.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
So with that, we'll move to the next candidate. Suzanne, you are up. And just like with Andy, if you don't mind giving, just sharing your name and just a quick little intro, and then we'll get started.
Okay. Suzanne Roberts, and I moved to Colfax in 1983 as a single parent of 2 children. My son and daughter went to Colfax Grammar School and Colfax High School. My son attended UC Davis on scholarship from the good education that he got at Colfax High. My daughter attended, and they both graduated from Sacramento. She graduated from Sac State. I worked in accounting and in human resources, and I was on Colfax City Council, elected in 2005, and I started serving in 2006. I left in 2012 because I got married and moved 4 miles out of town. And so then I got divorced. I moved back to my house. And in the last few years, I took care of a brother who was dying. He ended up passing away. It was a couple of years for that and another year of his estate. And so I'm back in town and ready to serve again.
Thank you. All right. With that, I'll go and ask the first question. So please state the top 2 reasons that you are seeking appointment to the city council.
I love the public service, and that would be the first reason. And I also enjoyed being on council. It was interesting. It was challenging. It was great to have, back in the day, we used to get a paper packet with the agenda. So I don't know if that still happens because there's so much technology. And I would go through it and write down my notes and ask questions. And so it was very challenging, but I thought it was also very interesting.
Wonderful. Next question is, what do you consider to be the primary roles of a council member?
That would be available to the public, to make sure that they read everything, that they understand, that they encourage questions. I think too, to make sure, when I was on council before, I would give people my home phone number and say, if you have any questions, contact me, because you're really 24/7. So.
Right, Kim, you have the next question?
Okay, and again, we're asking the same questions.
Yes.
Number 6. You've already read it, right?
What's right here?
What do you consider to be the city's top priorities in the coming years?
And that was change the top 2 priorities.
Well, it's actually 3, but just a couple of the top priorities.
Okay, so again, when I was campaigning, I went door to door the first time before I was elected. And there were 3 things that were expressed by the residents that they wanted to see happen in Colfax, because I said, what do you want to see in Colfax change? What do you want to see improved? And the first thing was they wanted Wi-Fi, they wanted the hotel fixed, and they wanted the roads improved. And I think that that's probably, with the exception of Wi-Fi, I think that those 2 things are still a big picture. When I moved here in 1983, the hotel was in bad condition. It has been changing hands since, and it has been in a state of disrepair since then. And it's so visible.
All right. So what potential conflicts of interest will arise if you are appointed to the council?
None.
That's concise. Thank you. Sean, you have the next question.
The council currently has 2 regular evening meetings per month. Council members are also assigned to serve on council committees and on outside agencies. What professional or personal constraints on your time of service do you have?
Well, I'm retired now. When I first was on council, I was a full-time employee and I was a human resources manager. Sometimes my role at work would interfere with a meeting during the day that I had. You know, I was on SACOG, and that was always driving to Sacramento. If I had an employee that came in with a problem, I would have to deal with that. So I would have to miss a meeting. I never missed the evening meetings, but I could miss potentially meetings during the day if something arose at work. And now I'm retired and I volunteer with organizations. And if I'm selected to be on council, then I would simply reduce some of my activities, responsibilities.
Thank you. Kim, you have the next question?
Okay, number 15. What is your vision for the city and what skills would you bring to help accomplish that vision?
Well, again, I think I would go back to what people have expressed an interest in, which would be the hotel, would be the streets and roads. And in order for the skills, I would say we need to really look at action grants, to look at what we're applying for, what we have in the hopper right now, what we can do to search out more things. As far as the hotel goes, I think encouraging the owner in any way that we can to finish the project. So,
Sean?
What needs to be done, in your opinion, to improve the city and council's visibility, transparency, and service to the public?
I think it's some of the things that we do with our nonprofits. We advertise. We have the VFW Auxiliary has been doing events, and we have a lot of visibility, and that's reaching out to other communities and letting them know what we have going on in Colfax so that we can encourage people to attend. You know, back in the day, we used to have Madonna's in the movie theater. And word spread. I knew people in Sacramento who would wait to come up to the movies here. They'd go to dinner in the movies. So we could link with some businesses too, to put together packages like that.
Sean, you also have the next question.
Yeah. Are you planning on running 2024 general election, or are you solely interested in seeking this short-term position?
I really like the public service, and I would run again. I liked campaigning too, because I get to I went door to door and talked to people individually, and that was very interesting.
All right, and Kim?
Number 23, what would you like your legacy as a member of the city council to be?
Well, I kind of already have one, but to continue to have people respect what I've done and know that I've been approachable and responsive.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, up next, we have Larry. All right, much like the other candidates, if you could share your name and just a quick intro.
Hi, my name is Larry Hilberg. I'm a computer consultant. I've lived in Colfax for 25 years. Typically, right now I work at home, and I have the privilege of working as little or as much as I want. So I have a lot of freedom to do some of the things that I believe a council person should do.
Wonderful. All right, I'll go ahead and ask you the first question. So please state the top 2 reasons you are seeking appointment to the city council.
I've always believed that if a community does things for the people that already live here, that other good things will come from that. And I've always given back to the community that I lived in, whether it was coaching. I've been on multiple boards of directors. I've been a park and recreation commissioner, and I've always been engaged in the community that I live in, and I believe in giving back.
Okay. And what do you consider the primary roles of a member of the council?
I believe that council people can provide vision and a longer term view of the community, a recognition that the community will always be here, and to provide that to the people that live here. But vision and long-term thinking. For example, I believe that we could use political commissions here, appointed commissions. In a small community, there's always a lot of changeover, whether it's in council or in staff. And to keep that institutional memory, I believe in appointed commissions to provide that view. And if selected, I would suggest and push for that.
Wonderful. Kim, you have the next question.
Okay, so I think we're back to number 6. What do you consider to be the city's top priorities over the coming years?
I believe we need a viable downtown. And that means a lot of community and council support for locally owned businesses that are down here. I believe that we need more, dare I say, proactive law enforcement. I would like to see the sheriffs out on the streets in addition to driving around. And do you repeat the question again? Was there 3?
Well, it doesn't have to be, but what are your?
Well, I guess I'll say
there's 3, but
I'll say financial solvency. Looking after the books, taking care of the money. It's very difficult for a community like Colfax to raise funds.
All right, next question. What potential conflicts of interest will arise if you are appointed to serve on council?
When my work is at home and I work for corporations and large public agencies, so I don't have any conflicts of interest. Strictly my own I should say my wife and I have our own company.
All right, so the council currently has 2 regular meetings a month. Each council member is also assigned to serve on council committees and on outside agencies. What professional or personal constraints on your time or service do you anticipate?
Because I work from home and I can pick and choose my own hours, even the number of hours that I work, I can be available as needed.
Kim?
Number 15, what is your vision for the city and what skills would you bring to this position to help you accomplish that vision?
I think the thing I believe in the most would be a viable downtown, a place that drew people and literally became a magnet where people could go downtown without actually knowing where they were going to go until they got there. And I am very open-minded. I'm a critical thinker. I can be creative and I follow through. And I can bring that, but again, a viable downtown.
All right, Sean?
So in your opinion, what needs to be done to improve the city's visibility, transparency, and service?
I think I saw some of it tonight already. In the past, I've spoken before council often. And generally speaking, during public comment, there was little or no engagement from behind, I don't even know what you call that thing. The dais, yeah. And tonight I saw that. And I believe very strongly in that. I believe in engagement to the public. And I know we often, and boards of directors are like this, we always have this push to run on time. But I believe that listening to the public and responding to the public and giving them their say and engaging with them is more important than that. So I really appreciated seeing that tonight. I saw it from all of you, in fact.
Gotta be careful with that.
I know.
Can't get too far off on the discussions.
I mean, I would be that way.
All right, Sean, it looks like you also have the next question.
So are you planning to run in 2024 general election, or are you just interested in short term?
At this time, I don't know. I think depending on what happened during this, I know there are 2 positions and each have a variable length, and there's been no discussion on who and which of us are applying for which opening. But depending on what I might be able to get started, things that I believed in, I could see myself running again, but it's too early to know.
So just to provide a little clarification on that particular issue you just brought up, the positions are both able to be appointed this evening. We do have that discretion. And both positions that resigned were part of the same election cycle. So they will be for the exact same duration.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Next election cycle.
Yeah, and you did run in the last election as well.
I did.
Okay, so Kim, you've got the last question.
Number 23, what would you like your legacy to be as a member of this council?
Several things. A full transparency of council business, with the exception of closed sessions, which I believe are necessary at times. A council that engages with the public at all times very proactively. Early meeting notices, that sort of thing. Like I mentioned before, financial solvencies. We have 3 primary areas where Colfax spends money. One of them is our sewer system, and one of them is law enforcement. And then, of course, the third one is probably the people that work here in the city. But I've been on a number of board of directors, and I'm currently on the board, have been on the board for an organization that has a budget of over $1 million. And I believe there are probably some opportunities in Colfax to save a little money. I don't know. But because it's hard to raise money, and one one solution, by the way. That's why I believe in a viable downtown. You know, we are making good sales tax dollars out there by the freeway. And those people stop and spend some money and go on. But one of our biggest opportunities, other than more grant seeking, would be businesses downtown that were full and active. And then the last thing is what I mentioned before. I believe in appointed commissions because of that institutional memory that remains with them. It's so easy to forget things. And I know I've experienced that before when I was on a park and rec commission. It really matters if somebody just has that narrower focus that the council can't have because they have a broader focus. So those are the things. I think transparency, public engagement, and a solvent financial city and commissions.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Our next candidate is Dakota. Come on up. So if you don't mind, you'll just go ahead and share your name, a little introduction on yourself, and then I will get started with the first question.
Hello, my name is Dakota Hauk, and I've lived in Colfax since I was around 7 or 8. I'm currently a full-time student, and yeah, I guess introduction.
All right. Please state the top 2 reasons that you are seeking appointment to the city council.
Mainly just to learn a lot about local government. I've always been fascinated about it, and I thought the best way would just to throw myself straight into it. I also really like, sorry? Oh, my bad. I also really like this town. I've traveled around a lot, and this town just has a lot of charm, and I like to keep it that way.
Okay. And then what do you consider to be the primary roles of members of the council?
Listening to the community and taking in all the information to make the best educated decision.
All right, Kim, you've got the next question.
Number 6, what do you consider to be the city's top priorities in the coming years?
Like most of everyone else said, I think downtown needs more attention, just more accessible, I guess, not really expanding it, just making it easier to get there and showing it off. I also think the sewer here's a big problem. And the power goes out every I think that's a problem we would need to address. I don't like how whenever it snows, everywhere is just out of power and no service. We're just disconnected from everything.
All right. What potential conflicts of interest will arise if you are appointed to serve as a council member?
None.
Okay. Sean, you have the next question.
The council currently has 2 regular evening meetings per month, and council members are also assigned to serve on council committees and with outside agencies. What professional or personal constraints on your time or service do you exist?
Other than being a student, none. I have a lot of free time. Most classes are actually all online now. Just kind of, yeah.
All right, Kim.
Number 15, what is your vision of the city and what skills would you bring to help you accomplish your vision?
I have a few visions. I would like more attention, as you said, for like the youth. I grew up here and there wasn't really much to do as a kid. When I first moved here, I was told that there was going to be a skate park up there, and it'd be really cool if that could happen, but wishful thinking. Yeah. And then again, attention on downtown and keeping historical, like, what's the word? Figures.
Right.
So what do you...
Sean, I don't think your mic is on.
Oops, it was not. So, in your opinion, what needs to be done to improve the city's visibility, transparency, and service to the public?
I think you guys do know. That's a tough one. Cause it's really hard to like branch that out, especially to younger people, the like transparency and stuff. But yeah, that'd be really hard to work on. I think you guys do a pretty good job, but sometimes like there'll just be an event downtown and be like, I literally live here. How did I not hear about this? Stuff like that. But yeah, you guys do it. That's a tough one. I'd have to like really think about that one.
All right, and are you planning to run in 2024 in the general election, or are you mainly interested in seeking the short-term appointment for now?
For now, just the short term, but we'll see.
And then Kim, you've got the last question.
Number 23, what would you like your legacy to be as a member of the council?
I guess someone who just listened to everyone, tried their best. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our final candidate tonight, Carolyn. So same for you, a quick little introduction and then we'll get started.
My name is Caroline McCulley. My family's lived here now for just over 8 years. I'm a railroad wife, which puts me as a stay-at-home mom, and I homeschool my 3 kids.
Wonderful. Please state the top 2 reasons that you're seeking appointment to the city council.
My husband and I chose to move here because we really did enjoy the community. When he first moved to California, he lived in Colfax, and even as a young 20-something doing things he shouldn't, he really enjoyed it. But I grew up in Davis when Davis was still very small community. It was still a farming community, and I knew that's what I wanted to be able to raise our family in. And so that's why we chose coming up here. And I would like to see what we can do to continue that type of environment for our kids to not only be safe when they're raised here, but enjoy coming back here as well if they do choose to leave. And I think you guys have been doing a lot of great work in the last few years. It's been awesome to be able to watch, and anything I can do to continue that.
Awesome. What do you consider to be the primary roles of city council members?
I think it would be balancing the requirements of running a city with what the community wants and desires as well, because wants don't always match what needs or what can actually be done legally.
Perfect. Kim?
Hey, number 6. What do you consider to be the city's top priorities over the coming years?
I think one is continuing what you guys have already started great work on, which is improving the infrastructure of our community. Also, not only attracting, but maintaining our businesses here to be able to stay active with us, and increasing community participation in any way we can, whether it's attending meetings like this or community events with farmers markets or anything along those lines, anything we can do to pull our community members to be more active.
All right. And what potential conflicts of interest would arise if you were appointed to serve on the council?
The only one that crosses my mind is that technically I admin your Colfax, California Facebook page. And if that was something you guys felt that I needed to step back from, it could be done easily. It's not my page, I just help.
Okay. Sean, you got the next question?
So, council has 2 regular evening meetings per month. Council members are also assigned to serve on council committees. And turn my mic on again. And on outside agencies. What professional or personal constraints on your time or service do you anticipate?
I am quite lucky that I have a great community of people that are willing to watch my kids if I need to. So I have multiple resources through that. And with being a stay-at-home mom and a homeschooler, I have a very flexible schedule if I want it to be.
Mm-hmm. Kim?
Number 15, what is your vision for the city and what skills, talents do you bring to that position to help you achieve your vision?
Obviously, family oriented is a big part for me. Just the fact that I have kids that try to be active in as much as possible around the community would be one of the skills, because we enjoy taking our kids to things. I want it to be a place where families feel comfortable hanging out and taking their kids to the parks or the caboose, or, you know, even just hanging out at the Amtrak station. Also, having businesses that are truly not just invested in the success of their business, but also in being part of our community. Even if the business owners don't live here, what are they doing to still be a part of our community other than just paying their bills? Sean?
And so what do you think needs to be done to improve the city's visibility and transparency in public records?
I think overall, the council has done an amazing job with what the transparency you guys have had, the communication, especially Trinity and Sean, you've had with the community. You're very open to people speaking to you. I think that is done fantastically. I think your social media directors have done a good job of trying to keep everybody aware of what's happening. You know, you can only give so much. It's a matter of what people are choosing to take and use. The only other thought that crossed my mind is it would be nice, especially when you have the farmers market starting and even the one on Friday nights now, and even the other community events, have a booth with somebody from the city staffing it. So if people want to have a suggestion box to drop things in or ask questions, there's somebody there from the city at all of those community events. Wonderful.
And, are you planning to run in 2024, or are you so interested in seeking the short-term fund grant?
Totally open to that conversation. I have no idea. I figured this was a great chance to figure out how well it works for me and my family, how well the city responds to what I do, if it's a good fit or not. I'm not against it and I'm not for it either. Kim?
Number 23, what would you like your legacy to be as part of this city council?
Honestly, it's not something I've ever thought of. I can't say that I have any desire of what my legacy would be, but more as what the community as a whole has been able to do. And that would just be continue having a community that is welcoming and open to people and thriving. Thank you.
All right, so what I'd like to do at this time, because I'm sure everyone's dying to stretch their legs, I'd like to take a brief recess. I am going to ask that council members not engage with the candidates during this small break we're going to take, but take a moment to mull on the answers we got. So when we come back, we can deliberate publicly on the candidates and have a discussion that everyone's prepared to have. All right, let's take 5.
And please enjoy some cookies and crunch.
Please. Get some juice and a cookie on the way back to your seat. We don't need anyone getting a little too famished on us. All right, looks like we've got everybody back. We're going to go ahead and bring our open session back to order. And at this time, we are now deliberating on the interviews and we are going to have our council discussion. I'm going to open it up by saying I think that we had definitely more than 2 excellent candidates interview tonight. This is definitely going to be very difficult. This is going to be a difficult conversation. It's a little painful for us, I think, that we have to have this difficult conversation publicly. But I do want to say that I appreciate every single one of you who came in tonight and did a public interview. That is a big deal in and of itself. I think you all did a fabulous job. And this is going to be hard. So who wants to kick us off?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all you can.
Well, I agree. I think everybody here brings a lot of positive.
Oh, sorry, 1 second. Our clerk has
we just had a comment online regarding the 2 candidates that were not here. If you wanted to address those,
please.
Jane Gallagher asks, were any statements submitted by the 2 additional candidates who are not present tonight?
The only statement we received was that Traveris Butler would not be available this evening. He was redispatched onto emergency work, so he was unable to interview this evening. All right, Tim?
Well, I agree. I think all the candidates had a good positive attitude about the community and are here for the right reasons. Quite often candidates just want to be on the council to stroke their egos or they have a pet project they want to accomplish. So I'm very pleased to say that all 5, I think, have good, honest, genuine, reasons for being here. And I agree. It's a shame we can't pick them all. And I'm sure we're going to go round and round a few times. So that's my opening statement.
All right. Do you have any opening statement before we start naming some names?
Sure. I agree with my fellow council members. Everybody who showed up tonight definitely showed that they have what it takes to be on council. Everybody was able to stand up and give good answers. And it is a shame we can't pick everybody. So it's going to be a very difficult decision.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take this in the most positive direction possible by kind of highlighting who our interviewers were that we felt really shined in the process and kind of take it in that direction rather than, discussing any particular pet peeves or, anything we want to nitpick about the interviews. I don't feel like that's really necessary. So I'm happy to start out by saying that there were 2 particular names that I think I would be very happy with appointing tonight. My top interviewees, I think, were Larry Hilberg and Carolyn McCauley. So what are your guys' thoughts?
I'll have to say I agree that Carolyn definitely gave great answers, and I think Suzanne did a great job too. Everybody did a good job, and I just think their answers were most concise.
Suzanne and Carolyn?
Yep.
Okay. What about you?
Thinking 2 or 3 or just the stand?
Well, we're only appointing 2 people, so.
But I mean, the shot. Okay. Well, I'm going to start out with 3 because I know we're going to narrow it down even more.
Okay.
But I'm going to say Larry, Suzanne, and and Carolyn.
So it sounds like we all are pretty aligned on sort of the top balancing act there.
We'll finish.
You know what I'd like to do to make this more complicated in typical Trinity fashion? I think I'm going to go ahead and allow the public to have one more opportunity to comment since we have completed the interviews. But this time I'm going to ask you to please keep it under 1 minute. Make it brief. If there are people you really felt specifically shined through in the interview process and you'd like to share that with council, I'd love to hear it now. So would anybody like to share opinions at this time? Come on up. I know you're dying to. I think we know who you are. You're okay.
I agree with everyone on the council that all of the candidates, they put their heart into their responses and they were all very good. I looked at experience and dedication were my two things. And I absolutely agree that I think it would be Suzanne and Caroline. That would be my opinion.
Parnham, this is a really tough decision. I know I've had to make it. I think Larry would be great. And Caroline, I like what I heard today. So that would be my choices if I sat on that side of the DS.
Thank you, Tom.
Very quickly, Suzanne and Larry, I feel they're qualified and honest and they'd be really good working with you guys.
Thank you.
I agree with everybody else. I think it's a very hard decision for you all. I love the youth that comes in here. The possibility of new ideas, but I also like the experience from others that have been here. And that being said, I would say Larry and Suzanne and anybody else that would like to run for a board of director for the Chamber of Commerce, that would be open.
Thank you, Tim. Do we have any other public comment, including online?
We have one online from Jane Gallagher that states Larry and Suzanne.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, so we'll go back to our deliberations. I will say I'm razor thin on a margin here between Suzanne and Larry. And my leaning preference really comes down to the fact that Larry has been consistently attending, paying attention to, and engaging with the city for the entire time that I've been on council. He, as far as I know, is extremely up to date with the current issues, and he has been involved this entire time. And he did run in the 2023 election, or 2022, I apologize. So those are my reasons for leaning towards Larry. What are your reasons for leaning in either direction?
No, go ahead. Where do you want me to go? Okay. Okay, so I had three, and so now I got to flip a coin, and so I'm down to Larry and Suzanne.
Okay.
Your turn.
Right. I like the experience that Suzanne brings to the table. I think that her past experience on council will help her with committees and helping us continue the processes that we've been doing. And I just thought Caroline gave the best answers out of anybody.
Yeah.
So I gotta stick with Caroline.
So I didn't think it was possible with three people that we were going to end up in a 2-2-2 stalemate here.
That's right. We can't make it easy.
So we are going to have to kind of debate this out a little bit. I would like to see us have some level of diversity of thought on the council. I think it's very important to me that we are not in an echo chamber where we have too many people that are reflecting the same demographic and similar background. So I want to keep that in mind when we're doing the appointment. I do think that we have two candidates that have vast experience in government. They have vast experience in this specific community in government, which is a big deal, and are well versed on the issues and have been involved. We have one candidate who is newer, who comes in with a very fresh perspective, but gave absolutely fabulous answers during the interview process. And as far as I'm concerned, really knocked it out of the park. So I would like to start out by reminding council that we do not need to appoint both candidates at the same time. We do have the opportunity to appoint a second candidate on a different night, or we have the opportunity to appoint somebody right now, swear them in, and include them in this decision. Now, I lean against that for the reason that these three people sitting up here were elected by the people. And I do think that there's a certain level of importance making sure that that appointment is made by people who are currently elected by the people. I am open to anybody who may have another opinion, obviously. But council, how would you like to handle our stalemate?
I hate to bring up the 2022 election, but we did have one person run, and knowing where they scored and that, the number of votes they got, and kind of.
To be fair, though, the other candidates are not the same people they're up against tonight.
Yep.
So if we were to put all those same people on the ballot that are in this room, I have no idea how that score would turn out.
No, that's true.
Kim, you have any thoughts?
I picked two people because they are retired, and I think that having a mix of retired and working people, the retired people have, well, a little more experience, wisdom, theoretically, but they have more time to go out in the community. For the last year or so, I've been the only one that was retired. Everybody else had a job. And everybody, well, with the family and a job, you don't have a lot of time to go out in the community like I do. So I think that's what this Colfax needs, more people going out, beating the bushes, meeting the vendors, going to Auburn. I go to Auburn sometimes and talk to restaurant owners, asking them to come up here and expand. So I think.
I'll remind you, one of the candidates you selected is the only one who has a job.
Well, I just meant that I like the idea of having several retired people. So that's the only.
Okay. So we have one retiree, we have a quasi-retiree, and we have a stay-at-home parent who has a homeschool schedule that goes to all of the events. So with that in mind, does that in any way change your, because you have three very different.
Okay, I am not the kind of person who is able to assimilate new information like this and make a decision, within a few moments. That's just not my personality. Other people can maybe do that. I just can't. I need to think about that type of those variables. So it hasn't changed my mind, is what I'm saying. Okay.
Well, where we're at right now is one of us is going to have to change our mind in one direction or the other. So if we can't come to an agreement, then perhaps the right decision is for us to appoint somebody and allow them to participate in this decision. What are your thoughts?
Does Mick have any opinion on this? Or?
Mick, do you want to pipe in with any thoughts?
Yes. First thought is whatever you do tonight, you must make an appointment for the Mendoza vacancy no later than July 4th. You have more time on the Ackerman vacancy, but not on the Mendoza. So you're going to have to make a decision between now and July 4th at the latest for at least one. Second, there are 3 members of the council. A quorum of the council is 2. It takes 2 votes to make the appointment. There's actually a case that was decided about 15 years ago that says exactly that when there are 3 council members. So maybe one of you should make a motion for one of the candidates, see if you get a second and do the vote and see what you come up with. That will certainly break the stalemate.
So Nick, here's the question that I have. If we make that first vote, are we required to do the swearing in before we do the second vote?
No, you are not. The person does not take their seat until they take the oath of office. You decide when they take the oath of office.
Well, in that case, I will make a motion. I'm going to motion that we appoint Carolyn McCauley.
Second.
All right, I'm going to take a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lennon,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Douglas,
No.
Mayor Burse.
Aye. All right, so we've got one down. We're down to 2 other candidates. We're down to Larry and Suzanne. This is going to come down to you, Kim, because Sean has already made his feelings known, and I've picked one.
Well, I will nominate Larry.
Okay, I will second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Lennon,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Douglas,
Aye.
and Mayor Burse.
Aye. Okay, that concludes item 9B. At this time, we will do a swearing in, and following the swearing in, we will move forward with item 9C, which will be filling the vacancies in the council committee assignments. So how would you like to proceed, Madam Clerk?
Carolyn McCauley, if you can come up front.
Gotta be a better way than that. You do it.
Oath of office, if you can raise your right hand. Okay, and just repeat after me. I, Carolyn McCauley. I, Larry Hilberg. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend.
You solemnly swear that I will support and defend
Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign.
That I will bear true faith.
I will bear true faith.
And allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
That I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties of council member.
Discharge the duties of.
Upon which I am about to enter into.
Which I am about to enter.
In and for the city of Colfax.
In and for the city of Colfax.
County of Placer, State of California.
County of Placer, State of.
According to the best of. Thank you. And I'll sign.
Congratulations, sir. Excited to be on there. We never moved.
All right, with that, we'll move to item 9C. This is where we're going to fill the vacant committee assignments for the 2023 list. 1 second, we're going to give them an opportunity to sign here. And just for the public's benefit, we're letting the clerk do a few housekeeping items before we keep going. All right, we're ready to go? All right. Okay, so we can go ahead and get started here. This is going to be sort of workshop style where we're going to work down the list and fill the open positions that we have here. We can start by looking at the Placer County Economic Development Board. This board meets at 11:30 a.m. on the third Thursday, 4 times per year in January, April, July, and September. Kim Douglas is the primary on this board. This is an alternate position, so if Kim Douglas is unable to attend, or if you would like to attend with Kim, you may do so. Is anybody interested? And Kim, do you want to describe what that board does?
Well, we meet in Auburn, and it's the meeting lasts an hour and a half. They're pretty good about keeping it at an hour and a half. And it's one of the better committees, I think, because you get to meet all the other mayors and county supervisors. And everything they talk about is meaningful. They don't have a lot of fluff, and it's not waste of time. So I think both of you would be good there, either one. It's whether you can get away at that time. And it would just be an alternate, so.
Which one are we talking about again?
The first one, I think.
Placer County Economic Development Board.
As an alternate.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that.
Okay, so I'm going to put Larry there. The next one that we need to take a look at here, and we're going to try to run through this with some time conscious attempt.
You can wait on that if you like.
This one's the WACMAC. So this is the Weimar Applegate Colfax Municipal Advisory Council. This is a 6 p.m. meeting on the third Wednesday of every month. Every other month. It's at Colfax City Hall here. And this is essentially an advisory council to our District 5 supervisor for the unincorporated territories that are part of our community as a whole. This is a primary position. So anybody on council, anytime we go through any of these that are open, feel free to raise your hand if this is something you're dying to be on. So is anybody dying to be on WACMAC?
I don't know about the dying part, but I want to remember their meetings and I'd certainly be open to it, but
okay.
I would ask Carolyn also.
It works in my schedule too, so.
Okay.
What about the speakers? It's only one at a time.
Okay, perfect. I'll be sure to turn mine off. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. This is a primary position on it, and since Larry, you have been attending or you have some familiarity with it, we could do one of two things. Either Kim Douglas, if you want to become the primary on it, or since you haven't been attending, have you? David has, right?
Yeah, I've been a few, but I think you want to be the number primary. That's fine.
Perfect, because that's what I was hoping we could do there. All right. So Larry, you'll be the primary on that one. The next one is the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. This is a larger, what they call the Council of Governments for any region is a aggregate of all of the different representation from the jurisdictions within that region. This is very transportation focused. This is what drives our federal funding dollars to be dispersed among these territories. This is a very important seat we have at the table on a regional level to make sure that we're advocating not just for Colfax, but for Placer County as a whole. Our contributions there are very important, and it is usually very technical subject matter. This is 9:30 a.m. on the third Thursday of every month. Right now I am the primary on that one, but there are occasions where I am unavailable and an alternate would need to be able to work with me on that to come as the secondary, because showing up as the alternate for that one does require briefing. I mean, because it's kind of a lot. So who would be interested in being an alternate on SACOG?
I'd be happy to do it.
Okay. No. The meetings are typically in person. There is a Zoom option. But the expectation is that will attempt to attend in person. And they are rotating the location currently. So it used to be only in Sacramento, but they're now rotating the location among the different jurisdictions within the territory. The next is the Placer Mosquito and Vector Control District. So Will Stockwin has been our appointee to that board for several years. He's currently our primary. It is another board that is very technical. Placer Mosquito and Vector Control District is responsible for not just reporting, but making sure that we have mitigation measures over the different vectors in our district. So that would be yellow jackets, mosquitoes, etc. Highly technical material. This would be 4:30 p.m. on the third Monday of every month in Roseville. This is an alternate position. And as I understand it, Will Stockwin did recently sustain an injury, so there is the possibility of having to attend this and get briefings with Will. Who might be interested?
Interested in one of the two.
What's that?
It doesn't make me excited.
Mosquitoes like me.
You want to do that one, Larry? All right.
Will's a good friend, so sure.
Perfect. We do have the LAFCO commission on here, but we actually, it turns out, are not allowed to appoint an alternate to this one. That falls to the city selection committee that they have to appoint the alternates. So we will move on to the Bianchi Advisory Board. This is the oversight committee over the trust fund that was allocated for the Sierra Vista Community Center. Now, this is intended to be used as a reserve base. So this committee would oversee the major expenditures. There's usually, I think there's an annual meeting, but there should be a quarterly meeting. Tim, do you want to speak to that?
Yes. It should be quarterly or twice a year, maybe.
Okay.
Twice a year might be better. I can do that with some of this one.
Well, you are the primary.
Well,
Oh, you want to maybe switch it up? We could switch it up. What I will say is we did receive a report on this a couple meetings ago. I had strong feelings that that report was insufficient at best. Whoever does participate on that board, I would hope they would take a very strong interest in it to try to make sure that we're getting some more transparency in that reporting. This is going to specifically mean working with the Sierra Vista Community Center a lot.
you were the alternate.
I'd have to make sure I wasn't at SACOG, PCTPA, or any of the others first.
Yeah. Well, maybe you and I could be on that.
I'd be happy to do it as well.
Yeah, I want to get you guys on more boards, and this is a good learning opportunity to move into more of the boards.
I think I'm on the board at Sierra Vista Center already, so that's probably not appropriate for me.
Okay.
You can still give a report.
Well, that is a decision-making entity, but The next one is not a decision-making entity. The next one is the liaison to the community center. Larry, would you be interested in that one?
Liaison, yeah.
Sure, I'm gonna be there anyway, sure.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Let's see, so Pioneer Community Energy. This one, I am going to not help you guys make a decision.
I'm gonna ask to be the primary on that one. I was looking at jumping on that. So I'll take it.
Now, Kim, did you have any concerns about your place as alternate, or are you still happy with that?
No, I'll be the alternate.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
So you want to be the primary?
Yes.
Oh.
That's up to you four. I will have no part in making that decision.
Larry, you good with that? If I take the primary on the Pioneer Energy?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
The next one is the Placer County Flood Control and Water Conservation District. This one's also highly technical. Sean, can you brief on that one?
It's not that technical. Basically, it's we have our meetings second Monday of the month. They are not we don't have them as regular. They end up being quarterly. It's mostly approving budgets and plans for flood control. The staff there provide great briefs and great information, so you can really get up to speed really easy.
Okay, I can be the alternate for that if you want to stick with the primary.
Okay. All right, the next one we have here is the Placer Regional Homelessness Action Plan Ad Hoc Committee. This ad hoc is the right word. This committee, in my opinion, lacked a significant amount of structure when we first got started. It took a lot of bulldozing specifically on the part of Colfax in order to get some structure and get in-person meetings to happen and really have it not just be a consultant driving the process all the way through. There were strong opinions, as Larry, I know you're very well aware of, that the elected officials were completely not being heard through the beginning of the process. So my biggest concern on this one, Kim Douglas is doing it all alone right now. I think it takes two to tango on this one. This really isn't a primary alternate thing. This is more of a two people go, two people represent situation. And I would ask that whoever goes to that be prepared to be very assertive when needed. I'm not saying don't listen. Obviously, you want to listen, learn, and get caught up. But we do need to make sure that our voice is being heard, especially in light of the grand jury report that just came out. So I would ask whoever gets on this board to pay some specific interest as well to the grand jury report. Who's interested?
I definitely am, but nobody's going to like what I have to say. So if somebody else wants to take that, that might be a good idea.
That might be a good idea, actually. I think that's kind of what that board needs.
I'll take it. I mean,
because I would do it if I had the ability, because I was on it originally. If I could swing it in my schedule to stay on that one, I would. I feel pretty passionately about it. But Sean, I think you'd be really good on that one. All right, I'm going to put you on that one. All right, so the next one is the Colfax Skate Park. This is an ad hoc committee. It's as needed. It basically, if there's any updates on it, on the plans, anything going on that needs to be reviewed by a committee prior to coming to council for formal decision, that's the committee that would basically work through it. It's important to note when it comes to the Colfax Skate Park, there's a long-standing history. There are a lot of promises that have been made. And it's a very delicate tight walk that's been happening for the last couple of years to try to get funding for this project. So I would ask that whoever wants to be on the skate park committee, please make sure that you are very knowledgeable in that area before being appointed, because going on to that committee, if you lead anybody down the wrong path, a lot of feelings are going to get hurt. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that's going to be a controversial one. I know I made that sound really attractive.
It's really not that bad.
You should take it.
I'm already on it.
Oh,
Tim, do you want to be on that one since you have a lot
well,
of,
I could be the alternate.
it's a two-person, it's a two-person ad hoc.
Unless you want to do it, Carolyn.
I mean, my only thought is I'm the one with the young kids like Trinity has, so they would be the ones using it.
Well, that's why you want to be there.
Yeah, so I'm down for it. I
Okay.
can tread lightly when I need to.
You don't need to. It's not what this job's for.
Yeah, no, definitely, I wouldn't say tread lightly, but,
Never.
definitely one that will require a lot of homework. The ISO ad hoc. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm down to eliminate this one. I don't think it's useful at this point.
Coming up.
What's that?
It's coming up.
It's coming up? Oh, it's gonna, okay. Well, in that case, who wants to be on it? Who wants to work with Sean on insurance?
Insurance ratings, fire service.
Qualified.
We'll get you up to speed.
You know what? I think I can do that one with you, Sean. The Council Policy Ad Hoc Committee. This is basically a committee that we were doing to try to clean up our council policies because we really don't have a clean set of formally adopted council policies. And this would really handle things like who can put things on the agenda, who can take things off the agenda. What are the expectations of council members in and outside of the job? What do you wear to a council meeting? Those kind of policies. It's very administrative. So who would be interested in working with me on that?
I can dot i's and cross t's just fine. So
Okay.
I can do that.
All right. The Youth Commission Selection Committee. So we are looking in the next year to bring forward a youth commission. So Larry, this falls right back to what you were talking about having appointed commissions. And this has sort of been my baby project for a while. But here's the deal. Both Sean and myself have kids that, well, you no longer have a child at the elementary school, but you do have a kid at the high school. You do, yeah. So I don't think Sean or I should really be on that one. Just
Neither one of my
because.
kids would ever run for this.
Oh, well, that, if they would never run for it, then that's different. But,
If anybody else wants to take
my thought being, you know, the intent here is that we would have, 2 teachers from the elementary school, 2 teachers from the high school, and 2 council members that would sit on this committee to appoint, a number of children to this commission. It will be a mix of high schoolers and elementary school kids, both at the elementary school and outside of the elementary school and high school. I mean that to say that homeschool kids will not be excluded from the opportunity to serve on this commission. So with that being said, there will be agenda items towards the end of summer for us to finalize what that committee looks like, what the responsibilities are, how many students will sit on those committees, so forth. But this particular appointment will be the folks that will actually go through the resumes of the students or the applications from the students and do the selection of who will sit on a committee. So who's interested in selecting some youth for a youth commission?
Can I ask first, what is the purpose of this commission? What is it you want these kids to do or say?
So the way that this is intended to work from a very soft framework for the time being, because we are going to formalize it later, is that we have 2, well, actually we have a primary and alternate liaison to the school. And the intent is that this committee will basically take any issues that we have chosen to forward to that committee, and they will deliberate and provide action on and send it back to our council. And they will come, they will present, they will sit on boards as we deem appropriate. And the liaison to schools at the time, whether it's within the next year and it's our current appointments, or if it's in coming years with our new appointments, whoever the liaison of the school is would attend their committee meetings and help teach them through the process of how to run a proper meeting, how to come to decisions properly, have Brown Act education, and essentially move forward into a high level of comfort and confidence interacting with local government. So that way, when we do have issues, an example, the skate park, we can send that item to the youth commission and ask for them to deliberate and provide their decision-making responses on what we've asked for them to consult on. That way, when we do have issues where, again, like the skate park, we get a bunch of people come in here who are obviously in their late 30s and older, telling us what the youth want. I'd like the youth to tell us what the youth want, and I'd like it to have them interact with their peers from a neutral perspective without the outside influence of any particular special interest group. So that's sort of the very soft idea of what this will accomplish.
I think that's something I'd love to be involved in.
Okay.
Honestly. I mean, if it works, because I mean, my kids don't go to the public schools, but you said we can have the homeschoolers you put into, I don't know.
So that's the question. If your kids would consider applying to the youth commission, I don't think it would be
Not
appropriate.
At this point, I don't think they would. You know,
Okay.
the younger two definitely
Larry, you definitely look like you have something to say too.
What's that?
Did you have something to say? Because you look like you do.
No, I was just saying I'd love to work with youth. I did that all my life.
Mhm.
So I would be open to that.
Okay.
And the connection with the youth commission itself, that's listed here also.
Yes.
There's no role for council members on that, only to feed them topics. So
Yes. And really the way it is, the Colfax Youth Commission, where we have the 5 students, 3 high school, 2 6th graders, or, you know, so on and so forth. But that's intended to be the commission itself of the students. And then our school liaisons would be the ones to go in. Again, this is soft. We can formalize this later this summer. But they would be the ones to shepherd that process with the students. So it'd be a lot of extra volunteer work. So we could take a look. We can also circle back to our school liaisons because we didn't have any openings there. So we can talk about that too. Specifically for the purpose of reviewing the applicants and selecting. Larry, would you like to do that? Okay. Private Development Service Fees Ad Hoc Committee. This was an ad hoc committee we said we would put together specifically to go over what our mitigation fees would be for developments that have private roads, for example, that are not part of our city jurisdiction upkeep, who during winter storms need us to step in because they don't have other options. Because they did not pay mitigation fees with their permitting like everybody else did. The intent here is to give them an opportunity without us having a surprise amount later. They would know exactly and upfront, you know, if we need to step in and do emergency service for them, that they know what that's going to cost them essentially for plowing and things like that. So who would like to sit on that committee? I know I'm making all these sound super fun.
Yeah, I can do it if nobody else. I could take it.
You guys definitely get an opportunity.
Him? Okay. All right, so that gets us through that list. We'll circle back here real quick to the school liaisons. I've really enjoyed being the liaison to the schools. It sounds like we have more interest. Do you guys want to discuss that? Or would you guys like to entertain, when we're forming the youth commission, potentially doing a rotation among council members to guide that? Because I think that would be.
I think a rotation makes sense.
I'd like to stay on. I've really enjoyed doing it. But Larry, if I got the impression you'd be interested in being one of the school liaisons.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I just got. And this isn't getting too big here.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and leave that one alone for now. Let's see how everything goes from here, and then we can always bring this back up at a future meeting. This is not necessarily a heavy lift item. Oh, you want to do it? Yeah. Okay. So Sean, are you letting Larry take your alternate position? Is that what's happening?
Oh, I thought you were looking for something.
Oh, no, I was asking if we wanted to change it so that we could give someone else an opportunity. So that's what I'm just clarifying here, because. Okay. Okay. Well, when it does come to the Youth Commission, we'll talk about rotating. Because I'd like to have everybody give their unique perspective to the Youth Commission. No change. Okay, I think that we wrapped it up. Madam Clerk, do you have any questions or clarification points?
And Councilmember McCauley, just confirming you're going to be on the Bianchi Advisory Board as alternate?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Perfect. So with that, now that we've officially gone through the meat and potatoes of the item, we can take public comment. Would anybody like to comment on this item or on any of the appointments that we just made? Come on up. Yeah, sorry, I know. We got all these people at home watching, you know, all two of them.
So I was wondering, with the youth committee that you're going to form, or whatever, what is it called?
The Colfax Youth Commission.
Commission. It's just elementary and high school. Because there may be somebody that was here tonight that might be interested in that.
We will definitely have that discussion when it comes time for us to agendize it. Because like I said, it's very much it's going to be a soft framework concept when it first comes to council so that everybody has an opportunity to give their input. I'm very open to that. I'd like for us to parallel Placer County's Youth Commission process as much as possible. I don't remember if they go up to 21, but I'm open to that. So we can definitely take a look at that time.
I think this kid goes to Sierra College.
Okay.
I'd be really good at it. Really. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comments? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the appointments that we've selected.
I so move to approve the appointments and the committees.
I'll second it.
All right.
Your first action.
I'm going to do this the slow way tonight. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All abstained? Motion passes. Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and move to the good of the order. So this is the informal observation and statement portion of the meeting. In respect to Tom's request, I think that we have the ability to kind of open the floor up a bit more. So I'm going to go down through council, go to the order, give everybody an opportunity to bring anything up that they want to get on a further agenda or make an informal statement on. I'll circle around and give the public an opportunity to participate on good of the order. So we're going to go in that sort of a branching. So go ahead and start with Sean.
So I say congratulations to our two new council members and welcome, Mike. Thanks for coming through your first full day here. It's great to have you on. And thank you, staff, for taking the time to be here.
I also wanted to say congratulations to the new council members. I picked all three of you, and also to Mike, the man that built the roundabout, our city manager.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
Well, I mean, you can let me say it and you can just be silent. My last thing was, when I mentioned the thing about fireworks, I'm not negative about the fireworks. It's just that I would like to see us spend 20,000 a year on drones. We can buy, I mentioned this before, so I'll keep it short. I'd like to see us buy a bunch of drones, because then we could use them anytime. We could rent them out to people having their birthdays, and I'm just planting the seed. Big drones.
Drones don't blow up though. It's just not the same.
Or you could blow them up. You could shoot another drone into it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Just being consistent with what Kim said and
I believe that we have a lot of deserving nonprofits in town. And so I would like to see us share that money out a little more than we did. Seems like most of it's, maybe half the money is going to go to fireworks. And there are a lot of other good things going on in town that are deserving. And then the second thing is that, based on what I said at the podium before, I'm very interested in the downtown area. So one of the first things I'd like to do is to speak with him and provide my thoughts about downtown. And I really think that would be essential for Colfax. We have the backdrop. We can do it.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet and say thank you. And I'm going to definitely do my best. And now I get to stay up late and read your paperwork instead of my kids. So.
Well, congratulations, you guys. And I appreciate you guys sticking this out with us. This was a longer meeting tonight. And, you know, I just want to thank all our candidates that did come out tonight again. You know, it was a really hard decision. I know that we definitely made the impression that we were very firmly grounded in our decisions. But I just want to really acknowledge the fact that I had to, in that process, make a decision and stick to it, even though I definitely could have flipped a couple different ways there. We had some really great candidates tonight that really, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, very much deserve to be up here and serve. But being indecisive on my part was not going to help get that process completed or get us a full council so that the public could be served properly. So I appreciate everybody having grace and, you know, bearing with us through a difficult conversation. On that note, with the new council members, I've been working with Mike, obviously, for the last couple of weeks, and thankfully on Mike's personal time, as today is his first official day. We have discussed at length council training and Brown Act training. So we are going to be working with some folks from William Jessup, correct? Potentially William Jessup. We're gonna meet with them. We're gonna scope out a few different options because right now the Cal Cities training opportunities are terribly expensive, and frankly leave a lot left that you could have wished that you got out of the experience. So we're going to try to find a meaningful opportunity for you guys to get the training and knowledge as quickly as possible to the full satisfaction of what you're hoping to get out of it. I think that's the only other thing I wanted to bring up is, Nick, I'm going to specifically need you to answer a question for me. Last year at Railroad Days, we had a very last minute funding request to increase our potential donation funding. It was considered time sensitive and urgent, and we were able to move on that item that same night as a result of the fact that it was incredibly time sensitive and urgent. I'm wondering why, I'm hoping you can explain to me, that situation is different than the request we got tonight for a deferred payment plan.
Yes, because if that is not properly before the council yet, there is an administrative process under the Colfax Municipal Code, under the ordinance. That type of request is supposed to be submitted to the tax administrator, which I believe is either your city manager or your finance director. If they can work something out with the taxpayer, there's an appeal procedure, and they're not entitled to be before the council until they've exhausted that remedy. And once it gets before the council, if it does, council has discretion to make any modifications it chooses.
Well, thank you. That definitely provides some clarity. So what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to share some council direction to staff that I would like to see staff work with Jim Dion on that request he brought up this evening. He obviously wasn't sure the right place to bring it. If you would please work with him on that and try to come to a resolution, hopefully tomorrow, and please notify the council members if the resolution is not able to be reached, so that we have time to schedule a meeting if needed.
Okay.
Well, he is going to have to make it, he's going to have to appeal if he doesn't like what he works out with the city manager and finance director. So that onus is on him, not on the council.
If he wants to do that, that's fine, but I am asking staff to act expeditiously so that appeal can be made quickly.
Yes, I can reach out to him tomorrow. I have a little difficulty because of the thing up at the with PCWA, but I'll try to do that early. Yeah, and without the or maybe once we get up there or something like that.
Sounds good.
You did. Thank you.
I think, and I just want to share a general sentiment with council. Anytime we have someone who's a law-abiding citizen who is doing their best to comply with our ordinances and regulations, and they're struggling to do so, but they've come to us to say, I can do it if I have some help. I hope that we will all agree that we want to work with them to make it possible. We're not here to be the guy with the big stick necessarily.
I would say he did approach me before the meeting, asking me if I had that power to do that or could work with him on that, and I didn't know that I could or could not. So I told him Mick and I would have to look into it. So now I can reach out to him. So
fantastic. Okay, Mike, do you have anything for good of the order?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I guess maybe Sean, Councilmember brought it up. That actually two things I did remember is I am representing the city at the
Water Leaders
Retreat up at PCWA up at Hellhole Reservoir, and it's something they want to do every year. So there'll be an opportunity to do that next year for council member or whatever. But it's basically council members and city managers, and unfortunately, with everything going on of late, we didn't have the ability to get a council member to go to that. So.
And I apologize. I'd originally been invited. I'd RSVP'd and then unfortunately had to pull out at the last minute due to all of the obligations that came up as a result of the many events here involving the city. So.
Yeah. And it's I should point out it's PCWA and it's by invite. So it's not the council sending representative. So. Yes. In my previous roles as an executive director and managing a board or commission, it's a huge task to be a new member on an appointed board. And so I would offer to you, if you would like to meet for as long as you want on a regular basis, or to meet prior to a council meeting to go over the agenda packet, I'm happy to do so.
Thank you.
And Mike is your guy.
I'm much appreciated. I could use a little hand holding, sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you.
All right. If no one up here has anything else, I'm going to turn it to the public. Would anyone from the public like to bring anything forward for the good of the order? Carl, I'm going to put you on the agenda next time or something.
You're gonna have to follow me up on this, just out of spite. Hey, I just want to thank you all for what you do and the time that you guys are taking, the new candidates, the new council members, and the previous ones here. It's a lot of work, obviously, going through all those other committees that you have to deal with, and so much. But it is greatly appreciated of our city, I'm sure. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tim. All right. Well, with that, we are adjourned. Have a great night.